Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nurturing Astrology podcast. I'm Dominique your astrologer and host. On this show, I will bring you practical guidance and insight from my own work, studies, and life experiences, as well as interview experts to bring you stellar wisdom from other teachers and professionals. I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's dive into today's show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nurturing Astrology podcast. I'm Dominique, your astrologer and host.
And welcome to this week's Astrology and Education Thought Starter series. I'm Melody, your astrologer educator.
So today we are diving into the question, can Mercury be a helpful guide for educators and in the classroom? We know the answer to that, but
It's absolutely. Mercury is one of the more practical oriented planets for understanding how we think, how we communicate, all the back and forth we go through in our daily human lives.
Isn't that the truth? So we're going to explore a couple of avenues about Mercury, right? I know, Melody, you're going to dive into a little bit of the myth and meaning around Mercury, and then we're going to look at some of the how teachers can use it in the classroom, some practical things. So you're going to get a lot out of this one, some great insight and some things we can actually do through simple observation in the classroom to help each of our different learners. So want to dive in and tell us?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. So Mercury is the Roman name of the god Hermes. And so diving into the archetype of what Mercury represents, we get into some of the older mythology around Hermes, around Mercury as a Roman god, around Thoth from Egyptian mythology, and really Odin from Norse, if you want to go that far. Hermes is all about travel, short trips back and forth. He was the god of trickery, the messenger god. Quite often he's pictured with the wings on his helmet, and you can see that in the glyph for Mercury as well. You've got the crescent of receptivity sitting atop the circle of life, sitting atop the cross of matter, bringing what's from heaven down into earth and back. And so you can see that back and forth, and it naturally brings us to how we think and how we communicate, because that is also a back and forth between outer world and inner world. And the thoughts are processing the sensory from outer world to the internal understanding of what's going on around you. And so it's both the talking, communicating as internal to external, and then the taking in from the sensory with the thinking. So he's very curious. He rules in the planet rules Gemini, which is also known for its curiosity and its breadth of knowledge.
Yeah.
He reminds us of he reminds us, let's just stop there. Mercury is also about memory. And that's another piece of like the wealth you have stored inside your brain of the things you remember, which is part of learning. And teachers notice kids learning all the time because that's their job. So teachers have a unique position to embody Mercury as an archetype for children, but also to observe the Mercury in children. And so we'll look at Mercury's placement in each one of the signs to help teachers better connect with the internal Mercury. And if their Mercury isn't the same as yours, or if it's in a square position to yours, they can be the more challenging students for
You.
teacher's personality to connect with. We can give you some tips on how to go about that.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, so what was firing off in my brain as I was listening to that, lots of things, is Mercury ruling Gemini, third house, early childhood learning too, and also how Mercury is playful, the trickster. There's play. And again, are thought that bringing more play into learning or joy into learning and like this, it's more fun. Kids are more open and receptive to learning when they're really like
Mm.
curious and enjoying what they're learning too, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So yeah, I love that. And then the Mercury itself, you were already starting to speak to that in terms of where it sits um, in the chart. And if we look at for a second astronomically, Mercury can only go because of its orbit so far from the sun. So it's
Hmm.
typically in the same sign as our sun, the one before or the one after in the zodiacal wheel, right?
Yes,
So this is gives us only a few choices for teachers so that they can
that's right.
actually kind of observe some characteristics and see. And I love what you brought up, which is to me a next level. And I think for those teachers who really know astrology or want to go deeper, can look at the differences between their Mercury and the Mercuries of their class to
Hmm.
see which how they can make those adjustments to
Yes,
be able to teach those students that are very different than the way they might approach presenting information and presenting
yes.
um, lessons or subjects. You know what I mean? I think that was a thing that I hadn't thought of before till you mentioned it right
Right.
there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and of course it depends on the teacher and which age group they're
Yes.
teaching, but I remember in high school and I don't know how precocious this is or if this is something people learn later or earlier, uh realizing that there were teacher styles that didn't work for me and that I was adapting. But that's something that young children aren't necessarily going to do. And so all I can think of is if if the young children, neurodiverse or neurotypical, can't adjust to the teaching style, it's on the teacher who wants to be successful and communicate and help children learn to adapt to their learning styles. And
Absolutely.
Mercury is a super helpful indicator of what methods and environments might be helpful for the child.
Absolutely. And it brings us back to the responsibility of the teacher and the benefit of knowing thyself. So if
Hmm.
you understand your Mercury, your
Hmm.
teaching style, you understand that not every child is going to adapt or will have to adapt to that, you can make those adjustments or adjust your lessons and things to support all the different learning styles in your class too. So
Yeah.
I think it's just understanding the type of teacher you are, you
Yeah,
know,
for
to be
sure.
able to benefit your classroom.
And it's a beautiful thing about archetypes that they are so adjustable,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that is one of the things that I get a little funny with people who think astrology is so prescriptive and predictive because archetypes and symbols are so malleable. I mean, they do
Yes.
stand for a thing, but within that archetypal thing, there is so much room for individual expression. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, so do you want to dive in to, oh, before we go into the actual science, one other thing I wanted to do is to offer teachers who don't know a resource. And you can actually go to some free resources online to
Hmm.
find your own chart if you don't know it.
Hmm.
Or if you know the birthdays of your students, you can still put them in even if you don't have times
Right.
or particular locations
Yeah.
because you'll still be able to get their sun sign and their Mercury sign
Yeah.
for the day they were born. So that's a cool thing is like you don't have to have that time of birth or exact location necessarily. You
Hmm.
can kind of get that information and then start this kind of, I feel like it would be like pre-lesson plans, like when you know your students, you get their information before the year starts, and like you can
Hmm.
kind of get this, do this pre-planning, is make this part of your pre-planning work, right?
On the topic of resources, I
Yes.
realized that I wanted to go back to um, the principle of Mercury and what he means can be seen in his mythological story. And
Mm,
so teachers I'm sure, have a lot of resources to mythology as mnemonic memory devices for remembering what Mercury stands for. But one that I truly love is the Olympians series by George O'Connor. It's a
Nice.
graphic novel series. It covers the 12 major gods and goddesses of Olympus. And this one is about Hermes. And it truly does really, through a lot of different stories, Hermes as the storyteller archetype, um, demonstrating a
Hmm.
lot of the different things that he represents. And it just kind of helps. I don't know about anybody else, but stories help me remember the meaning of things much more than just rote memory. So,
Absolutely. And I think for kids too, as well,
mhm.
the stories. And they do already learn about Greek mythology in school.
Yes,
So
yes.
again, it's something that can easily be integrated in,
Hmm.
and the connections to the planets can easily be integrated in. So
Absolutely.
I know you also thought we should mention, just for those maybe more advanced or curious, about Mercury retrograde.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Because part of the reason, why that orbit, it only goes so far from the sun, ahead or behind is because of its cycle
It's closer to the sun than we are. It's
that we
always
are.
going to be right close to the sun when we looked at the sun. Yes.
Yeah. And then it retrogrades like 3 to 4 times a year. And we want to talk about that go between, that back and forth, and the importance and value of Mercury retrograde to slow down, to go back and revisit, to restudy, to reflect on before we go forward. And so it's another way, pointing to one of our other thought starters, about the rhythm of a classroom and the rhythm of learning. And I'm always like trying to dispel the negativity around Mercury retrograde, because
Absolutely.
I personally find myself to be extremely productive during Mercury retrograde, because you're getting to the list of things. You're going
It is.
back. Talk about that in a classroom in terms of that flow.
Yeah. Well, I think teachers, one of the key words for Mercury retrograde um, is a word that teachers are used to all the time, and that's review.
Yep.
Teachers are doing review cycles
Constant.
all the time. And so if you can align your review cycle with a Mercury retrograde, wow, you've hit gold
Yeah.
timing wise. But at the same time, like you might want to build on just Mercury's retrograde, take it a little slower, take things slower, um, work on integration, internalizing things in
Hmm.
whatever way you can. A retrograde is about integrating, integration, um, in introspection,
Yeah.
um, yeah, review. And yeah, a lot of people don't like the feeling of going backwards or of being slowed down, or especially Aries, they don't like not going forward.
Right.
But there's a, I like to think of it on, especially when I think of Aries people, and maybe this will resonate for someone. I like to think of it as the cars that you drag, the toy cars that you drag
Mm.
backwards.
And then they
And
take off.
during that time, they are building up that energy in that little tiny motor that's inside of them. And so
Yeah.
it's painful. It sound like for sensory kids, sometimes they don't like that sound of that motor being dragged backwards. But boy, when you release it, it just flies. And
Yep.
I think there is a really good metaphor in that, those backwards, slower, maybe even a little irritating times can really lead to great movement forward.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that's another good observational tool, because it's true.
Hmm.
It's not easy for every learning style or every Mercury
Yeah.
to like that slow down, and appreciate that. But if you
Mhm.
have children, or you have yourself as a teacher with a Mercury retrograde, I find that people with Mercury retrograde, they don't mind repeating themselves, which you constantly have to do as a teacher.
Yeah.
And there's going back and repeating, or it's okay, rework it, okay, revise it, no problem. Like, it's less of an issue and comes more
Mhm.
naturally, maybe, to somebody who's Mercury retrograde. And also, the Mercury retrogrades don't typically bother them. They can be actually times of real acceleration.
Mhm.
So there are benefits. And I think, again, let's take the taboo out of Mercury retrograde, because it's actually
For
just
sure.
part of another rhythm and cycle that's beneficial
Yes.
for growth,
Yes.
right? And learning. Okay, cool. So we put together like a little list to give you some quick characteristics of Mercury in each sign. But let's go through the zodiac and give them
Hmm.
characteristics of Mercury in the sign that
Okay.
could be observable. Don't you think?
Hmm.
Like an
Yeah.
observable characteristic so that it's something they could play with,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. So let's just start with Aries. We were already talking about Aries. Aries, as far as a Mercury, would be a fast talker, a fast learner too, potentially,
Hmm.
right? Really eager thinkers, and they need more freedom and movement. They might even learn a little bit better while moving, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Learning through doing and action and quick. They also
Mhm.
might get finish quick or get bored, that kind of thing too. Right.
For
So, what
sure.
about Taurus?
Taurus. Taurus are the steady processors. They
Mhm.
prefer calm environments, a beautiful, orderly environment. They learn best with um, tangible examples,
Mhm.
repetition,
Yeah.
and they need time to speak or to think before they speak.
Yeah.
They definitely want to take their time
Yeah.
and really ponder.
Yeah. You ask them a question, they might need a few extra beats to get you an answer, right?
Yes,
But Gemini, Mercury and Gemini will not.
exactly.
They might jump over and start talking before that Taurus Mercury gets a chance to answer, right? But
Hmm.
they're extremely verbal, inquisitive, and love variety in conversation and exchanging. They are like in their element. Um, and they learn through that, like you said, that storytelling is ideal, and conversation and curiosity, discovery, exploring a lot of different things. They may have that scattered energy is really great, but they may also actually have a harder time focusing too. So if you
Hmm.
have a harder time keeping this student on task or focusing because they're just too excited and into everything, that might be your Mercury in Gemini.
Yeah. Yeah. Then Mercury in Cancer, they absorb things emotionally. They will feel what the content feels like.
Yeah.
They will remember through feeling and safety. And they learn best when the content feels nurturing and personal. If it impacts themselves or their close relationships, they
Yeah.
will remember that.
Oh, yeah. It's true. And for Leo, that's expressive, confident speakers. Like they're your natural leaders. They want to perform for the class, or, if you need them to stand up and present something, they're down. They want to be recognized, and they want to be, valued for what they contribute as well. They want to be, encouraged, like to be listening to, like being on stage, I guess, in the class, they're happy to do, and enjoy showing off. They want that kind of accolade that
Yes.
they know it, they have the answer, and that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? That recognition. They want that recognition
Yeah.
for how smart they are, what they know, so they might be a little bit more reward
Hmm.
conscious and be like, you can get, offer them some.
Mercury and Leo right here.
Yeah, okay, you can identify. What are your
Oh,
thoughts?
oh yeah, for sure. That's all of that. Definitely. In fact, quite often my Mercury gets me into trouble because I just jump right in and gotta say what I mean.
Love it. All right.
Yeah. But a Mercury in Virgo, a little bit different. They're very detail oriented, as Virgos are.
Mhm.
Mercury in Virgo learns through order, practice, practical applications. They're super great with routines. They really love knowing what's coming and this is my homework and I am sitting down to do it. It feels good because there's order and I have ticked
Mhm.
all the boxes.
Yes. And then Libra, those are your social learners. They like get them and chatting and communicating with each other. They also want to participate in those groups and the creative stuff they're down for too, and practical applications. They're also pretty good with routines as well, but um they want to go on and actually like help the others learn too. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I got this. Let me show you.
Yeah.
you know, um,
Yeah.
so they're definitely.
Fairness, they care about fairness though. So everybody
Oh,
in the group
yes.
better be participating.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's true. All right. How about
Yeah.
Scorpio?
Yeah, Scorpio. Scorpio are our deep investigative thinkers.
Mhm.
When Mercury is in Scorpio, they learn through focus, they learn through privacy, they learn through emotional engagement, but it may not be emotional engagement that you're aware of. You might not see it, it's buried. They will ask probing questions. They might be the ones who ask you the most awkward questions in front of the classroom. Might be a Mercury and Scorpio right there.
Yeah. It'd be like,
Where
the mouth hanging open.
do babies come from?
Yeah.
Classic Scorpio Mercury move.
There we go. Okay, so with Mercury and Sagittarius, these are big picture thinkers. They learn through exploration and storytelling as well, similarly another as Mercury and Gemini. But they
Yeah.
want freedom. They're going to be your why kids. They're going to be asking why. You ever had that kid who's like, why and why and why? That's
More than
Sag.
anybody
That's Mercury and
else.
Sag. They want to know why because they're really seeking the truth. They want to know all the things, and that really helps them discover their worldview, like taking in all those different perspectives and stuff. But once they know, and then they can be very self-righteous about what they know. Like, I got the answer, I know it, and I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
I'm right.
Sagitt yeah, and Sagittarius is the natural teacher of the zodiac, so those Mercuries may also be the ones who turn around and teach others too.
Oh
They
yeah, I
might
mean,
really they might really resonate with the teach back method.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
to study how what sign teachers have.
Oh
Most all
yeah.
of them like our Mercury's, they're either Sun and Mercury, Gemini,
Yeah.
or Sagittarius for sure. That's also you have the teachers are the Geminis and the Sagittarius are like professors too, a lot of
Oh
times.
yeah.
High
Mhm.
higher education teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Mercury and Capricorn. These are another set of structured, logical learners. They need clear goals and steps, and they communicate thoughtfully and take learning very seriously. They are very aware that this is a stepping stone to their greater goal of success in life. Like they are
Yeah.
very motivated about where they're going and how they're going to get there.
Yeah, those little adults, those little Capricorns are like little adults. You almost have to, they like are great CEOs for the classrooms and things like that, the leader.
Line leaders.
Leaders for sure. But also you have to help those kids like have some fun. Like you did your work, now go play. And that's that's
Right.
that's harder
Help
for
them
them, right?
balance.
Have
Yeah.
to balance. Now, Aquarius, oh, that's me. Original, innovative thinkers, again, very curious. Also learning through experience. I definitely was one of those people who like to experience something, and learning outside the classroom. I would let
Mhm.
my friends go do something and then come back and teach me. Oh, okay, that's cool. Like learning from
Mm,
your friends.
nice.
Also very
Community.
social, you know
Yes.
open dialogue, and I value independence in their learning. Like they tend to be, I've read a lot about this and I've tried to remember this for myself too, that Mercury and Aquarius tend to be kind of like outside the box thinkers and ahead of their time in a lot of ways. So there can be this
Mm.
loneliness and frustration and not feeling understood because they're thinking so broadly and so, sort of outside the box that you're not conforming, or you're kind of bucking the system or thought system. And so that's where our little humanitarians come out too, and those little kids who are like
Oh yeah,
already like pushing the envelope and asking
for sure.
questions too.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then Mercury and Pisces.
Yeah.
These are intuitive and imaginative learners. They
Mhm.
learn through imagery, the symbolism, emotion, and empathy. They're sensitive to the tone and mood of the classroom. So these ones especially will get teary more quickly. Um, although hmm, Tiri's more about the moon, but I think the Mercury in Pisces would act as a conduit because it's in Pisces and it is sensitive. So,
Yeah. They're very sensitive to the environment and learning. Like my son has a Mercury in Pisces, and I've noticed that like he's quiet, he absorbs information, super smart, but not the one who's going to raise his hand and answer, not he's taking it in, he's a good student, but and also the energy of the classroom is really affecting, or the teacher. He'll realize the teachers
hmm,
that he likes are the ones who are more interesting or subtle or quieter.
Ah,
Big
mhm.
personality teachers tend to be a lot,
Right.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
They're
So a couple
sensitive.
of, yeah, they're very sensitive to their environments and energy. So the teacher, they're gonna, there's ones they really, really fit with and vibe with, and other ones are a little bit like, whoa, that's a lot of energy. That's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For
Okay, so I
sure.
had a couple of thoughts that I want to just preface, and I know you have a cool resource for going
Yes.
deeper on this. So share your resource first because I think that's
Yeah,
gonna be great.
yeah. So for teachers who haven't looked at a kid's Mercury sign, that can be overwhelming all on its own. If you've already started integrating sun signs, maybe you've looked at rising or moon and adding Mercury is the new thing. Um, just focus on that. But if you've been into astrology for a while, I would love to recommend Parker's Astrology as a resource.
Mhm.
It is, it's one of those, it's a bigger book, kind of looks like a coffee table book. There's beautiful illustrations, but it has a wealth of information. Breaks each planet down and goes through in the signs, in the houses, and when it's aspected by another planet. So that's a lot. The key part that relates to what we're talking about today is the Mercury section, Mercury through the signs, because what it does is it breaks down a little snapshot for, let's take Mercury in Aries. For a Mercury in Aries, you could have the sun in Pisces, the sun in Aries, or the sun in Taurus. And so each one of those three has a little paragraph in itself, which it shows the slight differences between um, a Pisces sun with an Aries Mercury and a Taurus sun with an Aries Mercury. And that could be super helpful. So if you're
Absolutely.
fluent in the sun moon and you want to get your feet wet with Mercury, a little more of the Mercury sun kind of combo in what you're seeing in a student, Parker's Astrology by Julia and Derek Parker.
I'm going to put the link to that in the show notes because
Yes,
that's a
sounds good.
great resource because
Mhm.
there are subtleties. And that's what I was thinking about adding is there are subtleties around that. And we do know if you go deeper into Mercury, there are how close it is to the sun or the distance from the sun also can influence the
Mhm.
expression. We have those terms, cazimi, combust, under
Yes.
the balance
Yes.
stuff. And I've done some teachings with another astrologer on my YouTube channel if you want to check those out. But those are definitely things that bring in different equalities in terms of the learning style, whether it's um, both the benefits and or potential struggles or challenges
Sure.
can come in because I feel like we could talk forever about Mercury because it is, I mean, hello, education. And bringing
Yeah.
this back to Uranus in Gemini, the idea of expanding Uranus being ruled by Aquarius. Here's my Aquarius mind going, let's expand this. Let's take this out of the box approach to education by using this amazing information about Mercury to help you in the classroom, help teachers and educators make your job easier, make your job more enjoyable, more focused, more, and all of those things. And so there are things, or even if other planets are involved or other aspects are involved, that will definitely temper or shift
Hmm.
the expression of that Mercury and that ability to learn, whether you have Saturn in there with maybe some slowness or restriction. Like, so there's a lot that goes into this, and we're literally just touching the tiny
Yes, we
tip
so are.
of this,
Yeah,
conversation with Mercury because it is education. It does rule
it
education.
is.
And the other sign of Mercury that rules Mercury is Virgo. So
Hmm.
we have two signs that go between, right? And one is mutable, which we talked
Hmm.
about, and very,
Yeah.
curious and bringing it. And then the other one is also mutable, but in a way that likes to organize,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And make improvements on,
Hmm.
so there are a lot of different things. So I don't know about you, but I feel like we could do several conversations about Mercury. So, definitely let us know what parts of this lit up for you that you'd like us to go
Yeah.
deeper into. And check out that book because I think it'll be a great one. resources. And if you want, I could also maybe even make a little PDF of this and share it to you, that little quick breakdown we created,
Oh yeah, for sure.
you
That sounds
know.
great.
So any final thoughts you have about this? I know we're just tipping, like I said, just tipping our toe into this one, and I feel like we might revisit it because we are headed into a Mercury retrograde.
Right? I don't think so. I think the tip that we or the thing we touched on that probably has the most moving forward was the Mercury in the teacher's chart and the Mercury in a student's chart. Like, I think we could go further with that, maybe in another one of the thought starters,
Yes.
just to kind of maybe even show some examples or how you can harmonize some Mercuries that maybe don't aspect each other super well, but
Yeah.
overcome that because there's
Don't go together elementally. I mean,
right, right,
personal experience with that one as a
yeah,
Mercury with a child who has a water Mercury. I mean,
right.
you're looking at elements. So I agree. I think this is one that we could definitely revisit, and we're just
Mhm.
opening the conversation, thought starter,
That's right.
finisher.
That's right.
So, okay, and don't forget everybody to go back and watch the other thought starters and our foundational episode, and stay tuned for more because we have great guest interviews coming and more thought starters, but we definitely want your thoughts on what you'd like us to go deeper into, and participate in the conversation. Please let us know.
Thanks so much.
All right, see you on the next one, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening, and I hope you gained some great astrology insight and inspiration from today's show. I'd love to hear, so drop me a comment or share in a review. Check out the show notes for all the details and links about today's episode, how you can connect with me on social or work with me directly. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Oh, and for my moms out there, be sure to join my private Conscious Parenting with Astrology Moms group on Facebook. Come join a growing community of like-minded mamas supporting each other in the hardest job in the world with the help of astrology. Hope to see you over there. Take care and keep nurturing the nature, friends. I'll see you on the next episode.